Today, let's talk about authentication. Authentication on Red Hat Satellite using Active Directory as external source. Imagine this scenario. You have one Active Directory, all of your accounts are over there. You have one satellite server, and you like to authenticate in your satellite server using the credentials from your Active Directory. So, let's go to the video and let's see how to implement this right now. For this session, let's start checking the documentation. docs.redhat.com. You can scroll down, click on Explore All Products, go straight to Satellite or Red Hat Satellite. Pick the version. I'm using the latest version, 6.16. And in this page, you can search by authentication. And you can see this one, configuring authentication for Red Hat Satellite users. I always recommend you guys to pick this one, single page. This is going to allow you to see the whole document in a single page. And from here, we can search by LDAP. This is the chapter that's going to show us all the information that we need to know in order to configure LDAP S or LDAP authentication. Specifically, we'll be using LDAP S, the certificate, just to keep safe and to avoid our password in clear text in the network. So one thing that we need to know here is we need to obtain the CA certificate from LDAP server. So we have one link. Let me open this link over here. We can see this is the page with a lot of steps. I'm going to update this document because this is a bit old. We can have an idea and get to the end following the steps in this document, but it is a little bit confused. So I'm going to show you step by step what we need to do. Basically, we need to get the certificates, and then we have an explanation here. Hey, put this guy as a TMP example.crt. The name is up to you. It is not a big deal. Also, the extension, it is not a big deal. This can be just DER or PEM file. After that, we need to copy this file to our Anchor and execute one command that will update our internal trust store. Basically, that's it. And after that, we should be good to go. Okay, let's go step by step, just understanding the process. Let me close this one and let me open this. This is a document that's going to show us how to export the CA certificate from the Windows server. And Wally, do you have one Windows server that we can follow you? Definitely yes. Here we are. We have this amazing Windows box. I have already my Active Directory over here. So let me show you some stuff. We have administrative tools, and here we have Active Directory, users, and computers. I cannot bump the size of this, I believe, but I'm confident that you can see my screen. So basically, we have the top level. Our top level is king.lab. We have this is a standard installation. I just create this for the purpose of this video. I create also this user. So here we can see some information about this user. And if we take a look on member of, so we have member of here, you can see that we have one specific group, GRP_satellite. And yes, Walderio is member of GRP_satellite group. And why is this important? Because in general, what happened is, hey Wally, can I authenticate my satellite with the Active Directory? Yes, you can. Can I use one specific group, like the GRP satellite? I would like to say only the members of GRP satellite will be able to log in. Yes, you can. I also like to say that only members of this group will inherit one specific role. Can I do something like that? Yes, you can. So in this video, we are going to cover all of those points. And then because of that, this group is important at this moment. Okay. And let's start this moment with the first bonus. Whenever you go to your user and you are looking for the distinguished name, which means CN equal tralala, comma, and then CN or OU, organization unit. So, okay, where can I find that one? I have no idea. So look at that. You can see the number of attributes that we have here on the top, and this will be available for you. If you have access to one machine with the Active Directory users and computers. Just for reading, this is not a big deal. You can do the same. Click on View and click on Advanced Features. So whenever you enable advanced features like this, check this out. Now we have the user, and you can see that we have more tabs, and one of them is this attribute editor. And in attribute editor, you can see a lot of things. The one that we are looking for is distinguished name. I can do a double click over there. And this is pretty important because if there is a typo, eventually this is not going to work. When we are going to configure LDAP authentication, one thing that I need to know is this one, like what is my top level? DC equal king, comma, DC equal lamb. This is the top level of my Active Directory. Eventually, if you have no idea, or if you guess, okay, my DC can be king and the second one, I don't remember, we can try lab or tab or mad or whatever. This is not going to work. You have to be sure about this one. So be sure that you have access to your Active Directory in a way that you can do this kind of query. Or if you don't have access at all, contact your Active Directory team, the administrators. They will be more than glad to provide this kind of information to you. Okay? So we know that this is the distinguished name for this user. So let's just skip. Let me copy this and I'll put on my notes just for now. And let's move it on. The same thing for my group. I can see the distinguished name for my group. So check this out. This is beauty, gorgeous. Totally deserves our subscription. All right, we have our Active Directory up and running. Let's come back to satellite. Okay, Wally, can I go and configure my satellite without TLS? Definitely yes. But I will cover in this video the TLS, including the TLS. If you don't want to do the TLS part, you can just skip this module. You can access the menu at the bottom of this video. There is a link, and then you can see all the chapters. One of these will be about the TLS. After the TLS, we have the next steps. If you like just to skip the TLS, you can definitely just skip to the next module or the next chapter, and then there you go. You can move it on with no problem. But keep in mind, if you skip now, your password will be flying in your network, totally clear text, and anyone will be able to collect that password and authenticate and use your password, use your credential. So keep this in mind. I truly don't recommend this approach, all right? This is awesome. We are here. Eventually, when trying to do the configuration using LDAP S, you should be able to see something like this. The certificate, verify, fail, it is not working. Okay, first step, I need to access my satellites and I need to install or enable the Active Directory certificate services. So let's come back to this one. Wally, do I have this already? Or do you have this already? I can access the server manager. In this server, I added everything that we need. So no need to add an additional role. But basically, it's something like here. You can click on add and role, add role. So basically pick the server. And you can see this one, Active Directory Certificate Services. Basically, this is going to install the package that you need. After that, you have to do some additional steps. This is not the topic of this video. And you should be able to see something like this. ADCS. This is the one related to Certification Authority. So the role was deployed. Everything is okay, is configured. How can I access this one? So I can click on my administrative tools and click on Certification Authority. You can access from that window as well. We are here. This is the certificate authority. We have this guy. So let's return to our documentation. See, this package was installed. Again, why I mentioned that we need some improvement in this document, because whenever I install this package or this role, we have to do some additional steps in order to get to this one totally operational, up and running. But again, if you're not responsible for your Active Directory, fear not. These guys should be up and running and they should be seeing something like this. This is the same screen that we have here. So you can click on the CA, the root CA. We have this one already selected. You can do a right click and click on properties. So let's do this one here, right click, properties. After that, you can click on general tab. So we have our general tab. If you're in a different tab, just hit general and click on view certificate. This is your main certificate of your root CA. From here, you can click on the Tails tab, and after that, click on copy to file. So let's do this. Details, copy to file. This is gonna open a wizard like this. You can see they are not slightly different. They are two different. Basically, you can hit next. And here it is another thing that it is a bit confused in our documentation, but fear not, I'm gonna update this one. You can see select base 64 encoded X509. So this will be a base 64. This one over here, you can see over there. After that, you can click on next. We are saving this on desktop. Doesn't matter where you will be saving. The point is you need to save the file. So king ca.cert. We have the file over there. Let's hit next. If you take a look here, the file name is over there underneath some magic area, but it is over there. Export keys is no, include all certificates no, and the file format is base64. So if you see here, the file format is base64. No, we are not exporting keys, not including all certificates. We have the path to this file in our desktop, and that's it. Simple like that. This is all the steps that you need to do in your Active Directory in order to export these certificates. So we can take a look here. I can open these certificates in a text editor, copy this guy, and this is the file that I will need on the Linux box, on satellite box. Okay, that's it. Hey Wally, we know we love CLI. Can I do this via CLI in Windows? Come on guys. This is awesome. This is an amazing question, and definitely we can. You can do this via webUI, exporting this information, or you can also open the CMD, the DOS prompt, and then do something like this. Desktop. I don't know if I can bump the font size here as well. Maybe I can. Font size, yes. Much better. So we have that one already, king.ca or king-ca. If we return to this guy, there is a utility called certutil. See that? Certutil. Certutil. If you take a look, this is gonna show also the CA information. Okay, can I get some information or some help over here? Wow, look at that, less. Yeah, you can do something like dash question mark. This is gonna show you a lot of information. And if you take a look on the documentation, we have this dash ca.cert. We can see dash ca.cert. This is gonna retrieve the CA certificate. Okay, funny stuff here. If you do this via webUI, so let's do this. I believe I do have the command over here. Search util dash ca.cert wally.cert. So we can see that this was exported. And if we come back to our file, This is a little bit weird because we can see the size of the file. This is 2 kilobytes and this is 1 kilobyte. So why is this different? You can see this is a binary file. This is a different format. So again, you can do a double check in the document over here. But one thing that you need to do if you like to export this via CLI is in 2 steps. Like you can export this one. This is gonna be on DER format. And after that, you can convert. And Wally, how can I convert? You can do a double check on this help once again. And one of them that I got here was encode. So this is going to encode that file to base 64. And okay, how can I use this? Dash encode. Let's clean up the screen. You can see that we have the encode in file, out file. So basically this is gonna read the file in one specific format and we'll export this file on base 64 format. So we have here, let's try ls. Nope. So we have certutil encode. The file will be Wally, sir, and the output will be Wally 64. There you go. Encode completed successfully. If we take a look on the file now, we can see 2 kilobytes, 2 kilobytes. Are they the same? Probably yes. Let's do a double check. This one and this one. 5BJJ, 5BJJ, MIID, MIID, 27FM, 27FM. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that this file is the same. So answer your question, my dear friends, definitely yes, definitely you can go and you can export this information via CLI in your Windows terminal. But again, this is not in this documentation. If we take a look here, we have some additional steps. Because of that, I mentioned this a little bit confused because we have some steps over here. This is a great one because we can use this for testing purpose. So I will show this one in a few. But if we take a look in the previous document, like basically we are looking for to export that file in a PEM file. Another point that I'd like to call your attention here is this. This is only necessary if you export in DER format. And in our documentation, it's pretty clear. Don't do that. Like we are here, properties, view certificate, details, copy to file, see, DER. So if you pick the first one and you export the first one, then yes, you will need to run or execute OpenSSL X509, passing the type DER. This will be your input file, and this will be your output file in base 64. So if you don't export in that way, no need to do this. This one here, this is another approach that you can follow. But again, this is a little bit confused with this one because this is a different step. So let's stick with this one in this document. I'm gonna update this document as I mentioned before. So we export the file, we have that file. And if you take a look here, this is my satellite box. This is the file that we just created on that Windows box, okay? I just copy and paste here. So I have already this file, no big deal. The content is the same as before. So we are good to go. Next step, I would like to import the certificate. So can I copy this one and execute this command? Yes, but before, let me show you this command over here. So basically OpenSSL, we can use OpenSSL to connect to some external machines, and we can use OpenSSL as a client. So you can see that I'm calling OpenSSL and say, hey OpenSSL, be a client and let's connect to this server in this specific port. And then we can pass one specific certificate file, a CA file. Okay, what is the command or what is the output if I try to connect to this machine right now? Let's take a look. I'm gonna use this one over here on the top. That is the FQDN of my Active Directory server. This is the port, use the TLS. I would like to connect. And if you take a look, we have some information like this. Unable to get local issuer certificates, that certificate, and we have some errors like unable to verify. So this machine doesn't trust that CA yet because we didn't import that CA certificate on this server. So this is the step that we are going to do right now. And how to do that? We can come back to these documents. Let's copy this file to etc API TLS source anchors. So let me copy this one here. You can see that the document is telling us to copy this file or the current file that we do have here to etc API TLS source anchors. But there is no such folder in that path. etc API TLS source. See, there is no source anchors here. So basically, we are looking for etc API. We have CA trust source anchors. This is the path that we are looking for. So again, let's do a copy of king the CRT. And again, the extension here doesn't matter because we know this is a PEM file. So we are good to go. Base64. If we do a cat on this certificate, we can see the certificate over here. So we can do a copy on this file to our etc API CA-trust source anchors. And whenever we got to this place, we can just execute update-ca-trust extract, or just click over there. And this is gonna update all the information that we need. We executed an echo a few minutes ago. Let's rerun this echo and let's see the output now. See, the verify return code is okay. We can see the verification is okay. The handshake was good. And we have all the information. So this is matching. The certificate was deployed properly. This machine is now able to connect to the Active Directory server with no issue at all. So this is the first step. And here is the boundary of your TLS or non-TLS. If you are looking for to TLS configuration, you have to do this. And this is the point. If you say, man, I don't want a TLS, you can just skip this whole piece and then move it on from this part, because now we will be able to see this on satellite side. Okay. So let me clean up both screens over here and I'll move it on. This is our satellite webUI, and I will start by here. Administer on the left menu, users, and we can see that we have just one user, admin user, and this cloud connector. This is for another service, but there is no Baldyrio user. Like, let me close this one. We don't need anything anymore from the certificates. Let's just see the user now. I would like to authenticate with this user. Hey Wally, can I just go and try to connect? Definitely you can. Probably it's not gonna work. Something like this. Baldyrio, my password. And this is failing. There is no reference at all between the satellite and the Active Directory server. So, okay, what is the first step? We are here on Satellite webUI. So let's click on the left menu, Administer, Authentication Sources. And from here, you can see something like this. We have internal, external, LDAP. We are looking for LDAP. There is no configuration for LDAP at this moment. Let's just click on this button, create LDAP authentication source, and we can put the name. This name is just a label, doesn't matter. ad01.king.lab. I'm going to use the same name as the server. And here the name of the server. Hey Wally, can I set the IP address? No, the IP address is going to fail because of the TLS certificate. Whenever we are using TLS, this server, the satellite server, will try to match the FQDN of the Active Directory server. If you put IP address, this is going to fail. Okay, so stick with the FQDN of the server. You can click on this test connection. Basically, this test connection is just going to test the connection between the server, nothing else. We will not authenticate, not try a username, password, nothing. Just the connection between satellites and the Active Directory server. You can see the port is 389. Again, if you like to skip all the TLS stuff, you can move it on from here. This is the standard port. If you did all these steps before, and again, I truly recommend you to follow all those steps, you can pick this LDAP S. This is going to update the port to 636. Next step, let's click on Active Directory. Hey Wally, can I keep free IPA or POSIX and connect to my Active Directory? I'm confident that you'll be facing some weird behaviors, so don't go this path. If you have one IDM in your environment, and I'm going to release another video talking about IDM and satellite server, this one specifically is for Active Directory. If you have one IDM, feel free to pick this one. If you have Active Directory, feel free to pick this one. If you have one POSIX implementation, not IDM, not Active Directory, then yes, you can pick the POSIX and you can play around with all the objects that you do have in your environment, because probably you know very well all of them. But again, if you have the IDM product, use this one, or free IPA. If you have Active Directory, pick this one, okay? In our case, Active Directory. All right, some information that we have in our account tab. I need one account in your Active Directory that will be able to bind the information over there, that will be able to do some queries. In this video, I'm going to use the administrator account, but I can create one service account, read only. It's going to work in the same way, okay? So administrator, I like to put on this format, king.lab. Eventually you can put something like king // the user. This is going to work in the same way. I personally prefer this one. That is too old school. Then type the password of your user. Okay, we need the base DM. Remember, one example is this one, cn equal user, dc equal example, dc equal com. Hey Wally, you mentioned that about the dc, but you didn't mention about the cn. You can do this if you like to set one specific top level of your company or of your forest. Personally, I like to put the top level of the forest, like the DC, and then just let satellite work and figure all the information, be able to see all the objects. If you put something like in one specific place or organization unit, something like this. Let's suppose that I have this organization unit. If I get my properties over here, attribute editor, see I have this distinguished name over here. If I set something like this, only users below this structure should be able to log in on satellite. In my opinion, this is not a good approach unless you know what you're doing. What I like to do is just get the top level. You can get from here, we know this is dc equal king, comma, dc equal lab, or you can get directly from the top level. I never ever got from the top level, but let's take a look. Maybe we do have a distinguished object here, a distinguished name. There you go. dc equal king, comma, dc equal lab. So this is the information that we will need on our base DN, something like this. Okay, should I fill out a group-based DN, LDAP filter? Not yet. We can talk about this in a few. Automatically create accounts in satellite? Yes. If you would like to satellite create accounts automatically, whenever any user go and try to log in, you can pick this one. I see some people around the globe just saying this. Okay, let me keep this one disabled. No one will be able to log in and create the account on Satellite. Instead, I have to go manually to Satellite. I have to create the account and I have to point that account or that user to this specific LDAP authentication. More work, in my humble opinion. I don't like this approach too much, but this is something that can happen. You can do this. So let's keep this checked. And from this tab, the account tab, this is everything from now. Let's go to attribute mapping. If you are using IDM or POSIX, probably the UID over here will be enough. If you are using Active Directory, you have to change this one. And Wally, change this to what? We do have such information over here as well. Here, we can see user principal name. You can use this one or some account name. So basically, we can see the difference at the bottom. The user principal name attribute allows the use of white space in username. The some account name attribute, which provides backwards compatibility with legacy Microsoft systems, does not allow the use of white space in username. I didn't see yet one user using spaces in the login nor the environment with this kind of approach. But this is one feature that we have. Like you can use both. I'm going to stick with the some account name right now. But if you set user principal name, it is going to work in the same way. Okay. Let me know down below in the comments. In your company, do you log with the spaces? Do you have spaces in your account? I'm curious about that. So let me copy this one. Let's come back to Satellite and change over here. That's it. We have the location just to set the location and organization for visibility about this one. We don't need to change anything here. Just doing a recap. The name, this is just a label. The name of the server that you are authenticating on, LDAP S. Whenever you enable this one, the port is going to change to 636. Active Directory, that's it for this tab. Account, you need one account just to be able to log in on your Active Directory and do some queries. No additional rights or permission at all to this user. Read-only user will be enough, and the credential. And over here, the base DN. My recommendation, always the top level of your forest. Always stick with me. And then automatically create user account on Satellite. We'll talk about this one in a few, user group sync. For this tab, this is enough. Next one, attribute mapping. You can keep all of them the same except for the first one, login name attribute. This is not your login name. It is not something like this. My login name is Waldurio. I'm gonna set Waldurio over here. No, don't do that. If you do that, if you try that, this is not gonna work. This is like a variable. We have one object in the Active Directory and Satellite is doing a query on that Active Directory just in that object, specifically that object. And what is the object? Some account name. So if you try to get Waldurio, there is no object in your Active Directory called Waldurio. Because of that, this is gonna fail. Okay, we have this one. Just hit submit and that's it. This is good. The next step should be log off and login back with your credential, with your user. But here, we like to see under the hood what's going on, how this works. We like to be sure that this is working fine. So let me give you some additional bonus. We can get out from this folder. There is one command called foreman-rake console. I would like to get some information using foreman-rake. This is definitely gorgeous when doing a troubleshooting about LDAP and authentication. So the first thing is this one. We can type pp, just a preview on our outsource ldap.all. This is gonna show all the authentication source that we do have. I know that we have just one, or at least I set up just one. I know the ID here is 6, and we can see some information like the type is authentication source. We can see the name, we can see the host. If I see something like, hey, the port is 636, this is TLS equal true, but here I can see one IP address. This is gonna fail. Trust me, this is gonna fail. You have to put the FQDN of your server. So we have the account. This is good. The password will not be here, but I can see this has something over there. I can see the base DN. So I have one specific user and that user is not being able to log in. If I see the top level here, that's okay. If I see a long string with organization unit or CN or different structure of the forest, once I'm unaware if that user is part of that structure, my next step will be to say like, okay, let's move this to the top level, DC equals something like the top level of the forest, and let's try again. Because eventually you are filtering out that user, and because of that, your user is not able to log in. I can see here, this is Active Directory. Then, okay, some account name is the guy. If I see something like Waldurio, oops, this is wrong. If I see something like UID or ID, this is not the way, because Active Directory doesn't have ID or UID. This is something for POSIX or for IPA, IDM. That's it. For Active Directory, some account name. We also have to keep in mind given name, SN, and mail, but those are already filled out, so you don't have to worry. But again, don't change them. If you try to change, keep in mind that you have an amazing clue aside. Just copy and paste because this should be more than enough, okay? JPEG photo. You can see this attribute photo. If in your Active Directory you have the picture of your user, there you go. Whenever you log in, you should be able to see the picture over here. I didn't put a picture on this one. I'm sorry about that. But trust me, this is an amazing feature. Whenever you log in, you'll be able to see your avatar or your picture, your face over there. Okay, we have some additional information here. Let's skip this for now. And then, okay, I know this is my authentication. My authentication ID is 6. So there are some additional comments that I can run here just to see if this is working fine. So I'm saying, hey, I have this object. I'm instantiating one new object, just passing my outsource LDAP and finding the object by ID 6. And we know the one that we just set is ID 6. Now I'm going to create one new object calling the source underscore now, the same as here, dot LDAP con. So I'm doing an LDAP connection. And now I have this object con that I can play with. And then look at that. Whenever I do, hey, is there a valid user? And the name of this user is Waldurio. This is true. This is amazing because now we can be sure that Satellite was able to connect to the external source and do a query. Hey, do you know Waldurio? Yes, I know. This is true. If this authentication is wrong, if the password, the credential is wrong, the response here should not be true or false. Should be like, hey, I'm not able to bind, so something's wrong. Okay, we know this is working fine. Let me try Waldurio 1. Okay, there is no user Waldurio 1. I'm pretty confident with that. And because of that, we can see false over here. Can I get some additional information about this user? Definitely I can. So pp preview just to see like nicely. Maybe you don't know what I mean by nicely. And I'm confident that this totally deserves your subscription. So let's see. This is one view. Okay, this is nice. I don't think so. Now let's put app. I'm not going to clean the screen yet. Now this is nice. See? I can break my lines. This will be gorgeous to my eyes. Will not be hurting my eyes for sure. So again, always pp before anything in Ruby. This is gonna save you a lot of work trying to break the lines in your mind. This is a nice tip. So here we can see all the objects about this user. We are looking for the user Waldurio, and we can see the distinguished name CN equal Waldurio Pinheiro, comma CN user. So I'm under this specific area user, and the top level is king.lab or king, comma dc equal lab. I can see object class, I can see the CN, SN, given name, distinguished name. I can see a lot of objects over here. See? Some account name. This is that variable. Remember the variable some account name that we set over here? So Satellite was using this information just to match. Hey, do you know the user where the some account name is equal Walderio? Yes, I do. And then because of that, we are able to get all these response. And also check this out. We have user principal name. So if we take a look on user principal name, we have this one over here. We spoke about this. And check this out. User principal name, in this case, is using my email, complete email. Again, I will not spend time on this, but this should be just the login, at least I believe. The version of the Microsoft Windows Server I'm using here is 2022, as we can see over here, Windows Server 2022. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we can move it on. This is good because we can see that Satellite is able to query that user. So, okay, we have some additional queries. We can come back on this later, but let's see this working because whenever we saw everything working via CLI, I should be able to come back to this page, click on logout, type my user, Walderio, type my password, and log in back. And then we can see an error. So let me try again because I believe that was my password. We saw that the user was not able to log in properly. So again, we got some confusion here in the documentation and eventually one additional step that will be necessary, not in this document in my opinion, but over here. We have this one. One additional step after this one, like the fourth one, will be to restart all the service of your satellite. Something like this. Foreman-rake service restart. This will be enough to update all the missing information on your satellite. And after that, you should be able to log in properly. So if we come back to Satellite webUI and type the username and the credential, now we can see this screen. An email address is required. Please update your account details. This is very common to happen when we have situations like this. So let me open my user and you can see there is no email in your Active Directory account. If there is no email in your Active Directory account, yes, this one here is a thing that is gonna happen. And then you can say, hey, walderio@gmail.com. I can hit submit and then there you go. I have no permission. If I log out and log in back, I will not be facing that issue anymore and I still with no permission. This is the expected behavior, okay? Okay, but let me show you this bonus. And you know, guys, I love giving bonus to you all the time. Let's suppose that for any reason, I came here and just, hey, let me delete this account. The user will log in back and everything will be fine. The account will be recreated if necessary. And then we will be facing the same issue as before. And why is that? Because my Active Directory, it's still with no email, okay? And you can see that Satellite is very, hey, aggressive. You have to put one email. So it can be anything here, king.lab. Doesn't matter if this is the correct email or not. It is just for the sake of updating such information because Satellite will need that information, okay? Let me remove that account once again. Let's log out. And what I'm gonna do here is just fill in the email on the Active Directory. Now my account has this email. And whenever I try to log in back, look at that. There is no warning, there is no error. just the permission deny, and this is expected because I have no permission at all. I should not be able to see anything. Like I should not be able to visualize any system, any machine. I can see, yeah, no tasks, and we know that we have some tasks like bookmark and about, and that's it. This is everything that I can see, nothing else, okay? The next step is, Wally, this is cool, this is amazing, but now I would like to work with this user. How can I give some permission to this user? So let's return as a admin user. I can click on administer on the left menu, users. I can click on the user. And from here, there is this role. See, I can put this user as administrator, or I can set some specific roles to this user. Let's say that this user is just a viewer. Like this user can view, or let's put view hosts. This is a little bit more, just to view some hosts. Hit submit. I can impersonate this one or this user. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this feature. Instead of log off and logging back, I can just hit this button and let's see what will happen. See, the menu here just reduced, and now I'm able to see just the users, some specific configurations for that specific role, and that's it. I cannot see anything else. Let me see in the repositories. Yeah, I can't see as well. So just the hosts. If I like to stop the impersonate, I can click on this blinking eye. I believe that is an eye. Let me know in the comments down below what do you think this is, but I'm pretty confident that is an eye blinking. And then we can see the whole thing, okay? This is working, but Wally, this is too much work because I have to go one by one. I have to set this role, and then let's say that I have 100 of users that will be logging on satellite. Can I do this in an automated way? Yes, you can. Let's say this. Let's say that Wally or Waldurio is an administrator. In general, I would be doing this, like click over here, administrator, submit, and then I can see administrator over here. Now Wally, it is an admin, okay? Let me remove Wally or Waldurio. And now let's learn a new feature called user group. So left menu, administer, user groups. And here you can see that we have no user group at all by default. Let's click on create user groups. What I personally like to do is match the name of the group. We know that we have this group. The group is grp_satellite. And I know that the member of this user or the member of this group is Waldurio. So personally, what I like to do is this. What is the name in the Active Directory? This one, grp satellite. Whenever I create my group, I will put the same name of that group. And what is that a requirement? No. But let's suppose that I put tralala, and then eventually I will end up with tons of groups, and I have no idea that tralala is translated to grp_satellite. So best practice, recommended. Feel free to keep the same name. This is gonna save you a ton of time, okay? You don't need to do anything here. This is just for visualization. We can click on external group, add external group, the name of the group that will be matching with the Active Directory. See, there is one space over there, remove that space. And here you say, okay, what is my LDAP authentication source? Is this one. Tip here. One more. We have no group called grp satellite T, okay? If I try to submit this one, this is gonna fail. And okay, how satellite knows that this is gonna fail or this group is not there? Because what satellite is doing basically is going to authentication source, getting this authentication source. We know that this user was able to bind the Active Directory, and he's just doing a query. Hey, do you know any group called grp satellite T? No, I don't know. Okay, so let me fail. However, if we change this one, this group is valid over there. We can hit the submit button, And then we can see that this was saved successfully because the group is there. The group is valid. Okay. And there you go. This is the authentication source. This is the group name. The missing piece here is the role. Okay, what is the configuration to be applied for this user? Could be administrator. Before in our example, we put view hosts. So let's use view hosts for now, just for the sake of testing. If I hit submit, what this is telling us right now is, hey, any user that logging in your satellite and is member of grp_satellite will inherit the role view hosts. So let's take a look. Let's see if this is working. I'm gonna log out for this. Let's hit audio, logging back, and there we go. I can see hosts. Before, I should not be able to, and we remove our account. So let's log out again. Let's log in back as admin. And let's do a double check on that account. Administer, users. All right, check this out. We have audio. This is the account. First name, surname. The email is coming from Active Directory, so Satellite didn't complain about that. I'm not administrator. See, there is no check over here. And if I click on audio and roles, there is no role assigned, but check this out. There is this guy over here. Roles from user group, view hosts. So what this is telling us is, hey, there is one user group called GRP Satellite, and this user group was able to assign view hosts to this user. If we access user group, administer on the left menu, user groups, you can see the user will be here. And if I click on GRP, you can see that the user is also here. Again, you don't need to change or add or do anything manual here. For Active Directory, this is not a thing. You can just allow Satellite to do this automatically for you in the time that you smash this button to subscribe, because this totally deserves your subscription. This is amazing. This is a pretty neat topic. We were able to understand the user group feature, how this works. Now let me show you one more thing. This was not planned, but once you are amazing people, an amazing audience, let's do this. I have here the authentication source, and anyone in this domain will be able to log in. So let's come back to this satellite. Let me create one new organization unit. Let's go IT, and let's create a new user. User 1. User 1. I'm gonna set the password for this user. The password never expire. And this user is not member of the GRP satellite. Okay. At this moment, there is no restriction. So, in other words, if I came over here and type user 1 and the password, I'm confident that this is gonna work. Yeah, see, there is no email. I can put user1 at king.lab. And there you go. I have my user1 over here. The user1 was able to log in. Eventually, this is a little bit inconvenient. I would like to avoid this. So let me put king.lab. Can we do this somehow? Definitely yes. So let me come back. I'll just remove both accounts Waldurio and user 1, just for the sake of avoiding cache or avoiding local accounts. Again, in your environment, you don't need to do this. This is just for the sake of learning. One thing that I would like to show you here is this specific one, examples LDAP filter. This is nice because this is going to give you some idea. Like we have the domain.example, this is the top level. Then we have the CN user, and then I have group 1, group 2, I have the user 1, 2, and 3, and we have some situations. If you like to create a filter, you can. You can create a filter by user. So I can say a distinguished name equals CN equal user 1, underneath user, below the top level, domain.example, only this user will be able to log in. If you see member of, I can say that member of group 1, then here you got the point. This is the distinguished name of that specific group. So the user 1 and user 3 are members of the group 1. If I do this, group 2, I can say that user 2 and 3, they are member of group 2 and they are able to log in. If I would like to combine two different groups, look at that. I can just copy this one. I have my first group, I have my second group, and then Satellite will understand that users from group 1 and group 2 should be able to log in. And in this case over here, this code is just to allow you to do a query for nested groups. If you have nested groups, like group inside a group, inside another group, inside another group, nested groups, this is the way that will tell Satellite to say something like, hey, go on and keep searching on nested groups. If you have a user that is member of a group, and that group is member of another group, and then that group is member of this group, there you go. With this flag, Satellite will be able to find that user, this match, and then will allow or not the user to log in. Okay, we have this one here. Let's copy this filter. Let's come back to administer authentication sources. Click on the authentication source, specifically this one. Let's go to account tab, and there is this LDAP filter. All right, the font size is pretty small. I'm sorry about that. Okay, we have this filter now, and what I need to know, and I don't need guessing, is this one. We have our group. We have the attribute editor. If you don't remember how this attribute editor ended up here, this is the one, advanced feature. Attribute editor, distinguished name. This is the path that we are looking for, or this is the group. So let me paste in the line below and we can see. CN equal GRP. So I can just change this one over here. And there we go. Now we have member of CN equal GRP underscore satellite, CN user, DC King, DC Lab. What this is telling us is, hey, only member of this group will be able to authenticate in your satellite. Let's double check. Let's hit submit. Let's log out. We remove it, Waldurio and user 1. Waldurio was able to log in, and we can see this inherited automatically, that configuration. Let's log out. User 1. What will happen is something like this, like incorrect username or password. It is not because the user is typing incorrectly the username or password. It is because Satellite is blocking this access, okay? And Wally, let's say that I would like to include this user as member of GRP, Satellite. Can we do that? To check, yes, user 1. User 1 is almost there. Okay, if we return user 1, the password, crossing the fingers, and voila. And you can see that this user was able to inherit automatically the configuration just for the sake of that user group feature, which is pretty convenient and amazing. Let me log in back and let me show you some stuff here. Administer users. See, the user has the email, both of them. The authorized by is pointing to LDAP. We can check the user. All the information is here. The authorized by is getting not from internal or external, is getting from the LDAP authentication source that we created. The role here is matching with the view hosts. And that's it. Now, let's suppose that you would like to change this user group. See, we have the two users over there, the roles. You can definitely come back, you can change the group, you can change the roles, you can change the permission, you can do whatever you want. Next time, whenever your user logging back, what will happen is Satellite will be able to identify that user, do the matching, and apply all the configuration, all the roles that you are assigning in this specific page, okay? If your user it is already logged, every 30 minutes, Satellite is going to do this double check and will apply the role in place, the new role in place to your user in a way that you don't need to log off and log in back. This is another interesting point. Let me show you one more point about this authentication source or user group. If you click on authentication source in the accounts tab, we can see this user group sync. This is what will allow you to do this cross check whenever you log in your Satellite. So anytime that I came over here, I have my user Waldurio. There is no user Waldurio. So if I just log in back right now, log off and log in back as a user, you can see that the host, all hosts will appear automatically. If this is happening only because we have this feature or this flag enabled. If I have this one like this, what will happen is my user will be able to log in automatically, but will not inherit any configuration about user group. So as I mentioned before, every 30 minutes we have that job that's gonna run, and then okay, Waldurio is member of this group, so let me apply all the rules for this user, and then there we go. In general, I recommend you to keep this one enabled. This will not hurt, this will be quick, this will be fast. Long ago, they used to be a little bit painful, but nowadays, amazing. This is neat. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. This topic is amazing. This integration is pretty neat, works fine, amazing, very smooth. Eventually, I see some situations, some environments with some very specific scenarios and configurations and customizations in place that can turn this configuration a little bit harsh. But in general, this is pretty easy. You don't need to touch anything via CLI. Basically, we did a lot here via CLI just to show what's going on under the hood. But in a daily basis, just via webUI, set all the parameters, log off, log in back, and everything is working fine. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you believe this content is valuable for you. Also, feel free to join us in our Discord channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.